Epstein's Island was not the first of its kind. A tiny island in the middle of Lake Michigan was exposed for trafficking young boys under the guise of a nature camp, and the operations on this island are even believed to be connected to a string of child murders. This is my part 4 video, so be sure to go watch the other videos about North Fox Island or else you'll be completely lost. I have a playlist with those videos down below, and as always, make sure to follow for more. North Fox Island's owner was given plenty of time to escape and destroy as much evidence as he could. A gym teacher involved with the island named Gerald Richards was arrested and given a plea deal for a more lenient sentence in exchange for information, including some of the island's clients. The story of North Fox Island quickly disappeared from the news, and local news outlets were now instead focusing on a new breaking story. On February 15, 1976, a 12-year-old boy named Mark Stebbins went missing while walking home from his mother's place of work. Despite extensive searches, Mark's body wouldn't be found until 4 days later, lying on a pile of wood and dirt in the parking lot of an office building in Southfield, Michigan. He wore the same clothes he had disappeared in, and rope marks were observed on both his wrists and ankles, suggesting that he had been held captive somewhere. Despite the kidnapping and brutal essay he had faced, whoever was responsible made sure that Mark had been fed, bathed, and redressed. Investigators receive a tip from an inmate in Flint named Greg Green, who says that he himself is a predator and that he never worked alone. Greg claims that his friend, a man named Chris Bush, is the one responsible for the murder of Mark Stebbins. When police find out where Chris Bush lives, they get a warrant to search his house, and inside they find a suitcase full of CP, along with ropes and weapons thought to be involved in Mark's case and the other cases that became known as the snow killings. So police bring Chris in for questioning, and while he admits to being a predator and that he has worked with Greg Green abducting victims in the area, he claims that he has nothing to do with Mark Stebbins or any of the other children. So Chris Bush and his accomplice Greg Green are asked to take a polygraph test. They agree, and according to the examiner, they both passed the test. So for the time being, the two men are marked off from the suspect list, but they were charged for the CP found in their possession. Greg gets life in prison, and Chris, because he comes from a wealthy family, just has to pay a fine. A week after Chris Bush gets paroled, another child in the area goes missing, and this time it's an 11-year-old boy named Timothy King, who I can do a separate video on. The following year, Chris Bush would be found dead in his home. Within 24 hours, his death is ruled a self-elimination, but it's not exactly clear how they would have come to that conclusion. Chris was found neatly tucked into his bed sheets and would have had to have balanced the weapon in between his knees in order to take that shot. He had one wound, but there were 4 shell casings around him. There was also no blood spatter at the scene and no gunpowder residue found on his own hands. Above him in his bed is a hand-drawn image of a young boy bearing the resemblance of Mark Stebbins. But who would have it out for Chris, you might be asking? Well, remember that client list I mentioned earlier? Investigators would later find out that Chris Bush's name was on the list from North Fox Island. And this is just the beginning of the cover-up, so make sure to follow and come back for part 5, or check out my 2-part podcast episode on this topic by searching Oddities on Elm Street wherever you get your podcasts.